detail the architecture. Yeah. So let us understand. Let's get that. Okay. And just open this. Yeah. Yes. So this part, I think I didn't talk about it, but we talked about other ways to understand this architecture. On the left side, we can see there are two layers, right? On-prem layer in the bottom and cloud layer in the top. And agent is going to help us to make on-prem and cloud to talk to each other by taking the help from Informatica Cloud repository. Because without that, there is no way of performing the data transfer, right? That's the one thing we discussed. Then once you understand, so we have also talked about other way to get into this architecture where how well data would get transferred in case of Informatica Cloud architecture. So to answer that, so it uses protocols like HTTPS, SOAP, and REST. So using these protocols, we could able to make the data transfer between anywhere to anywhere. Which means on-prem to cloud, cloud to on-prem to on-prem, cloud to cloud, whatever, right? Any combination. I think we have seen one practical example, like how HTTPS protocol can be used to perform data transfer from, let's say, portal application to IICS. One side we have done it, but other side also we'll see later. Yeah. And metadata part in the bottom, you can see, right? Informatica Cloud supports HTTPS protocol when it comes to the metadata. Yeah. So this, I think we have seen it. And yes. Now, I think one more way I think we talked about, right? Yes. So we can use this particular Informatica Cloud as a service, or SaaS, we can say, software as a service. It's in this case, if we talk about data integration, we can use data integration or integration as a service. Yeah. So which means like quality as service, profiling as service, MDM as service, whatever. In simple terms, everything would be expressed in the form of what? Services. We have seen that already. Now, let us try to combine all of them into single architecture where we can see all of them. Let us start with the first and foremost thing at the bottom. So broader sense is fine. In the sense, bottom is on-prem layer and top is what? Cloud layer. Yeah. So in the bottom, so we have got one user, so who can log on to this web client by using what? One internal access or internal authentication and authorization mechanism. So, and then second, we can use third party identity provider like LDAP or any other third party provider through which we could able to log on to this web client. So that is going to be the starting point to log on to this web client. Once we are done with that, then we could able to access different intelligent cloud services offered by Informatica, where we can see different microservices like service one, two, three, whatever, like data integration, data quality, data profiling, administrator, monitor, operational insight, application integrity, and so on. There are multiple microservices. Just remember the general name. Within Informatica Cloud, we got multiple services. Now, how these services are going to work by using what? Central repository, which we call Informatica Cloud Repository, where multiple tenants can make use of this particular metadata. That's where we use what? Multi-tenant repository. And we can also use it for storing the data. So, like content, you can say, is not a real business data. It is not advisable to use Informatica Cloud for storing business data. We use it for only content, which is required to what do you call perform Informatica Cloud operations. Just remember that. No? Next, on the right side, we can see what cloud storage, what do you call tools like Amazon, Salesforce, NetSuite, Google, and so on. Right now, there is a solid line with arrow between what Informatica Cloud. See here, why there is an agent here in the top and there is also agent in the bottom. Can you guess the difference between these two? So this particular agent, which is installed as part of the cloud environment, which we call Informatica Cloud Hosted Agent. In the bottom, we can also say local agent, which is installed by ourselves. We install it. I'll talk about like how to install it on your system so that you guys also can make use of it to perform Informatica Cloud operations, right? So that's it. This particular agent is going to help us to pull the metadata from this particular Informatica Cloud and perform data transfer within itself, in the sense Salesforce to Amazon, whatever. But we don't transfer data from this cloud to Informatica Cloud. Remember, because we can see dotted line with arrow, which is going to help us to push metadata to repository, and second, to pull metadata from repository to perform data transfer within itself, which means within cloud storage medias like Salesforce, Amazon, whatever. Yeah. So by using HTTPS protocol. Similarly, we can also see the local agent in the bottom, which is going to help us to transfer data from local storage media to what? Cloud, or cloud to local, whatever, any combination. That's it. This part I think we talked about it with other diagrams. Yeah. So that's it. Apart from that, if you want to have single sign-on to get into this Informatica Cloud, then there is a SAML, which is security assertion markup language, through which we can also provide single sign-on to access multiple cloud applications. That's it. So these are the multiple components which we could able to see as part of this particular architecture. Yeah. On top of that, we could also able to say firewall. I think, as I said, this particular agent can be protected, one, from the firewall, and also from what? Proxy. So second level of authentication. So which means protection is a mandatory thing, guys, or very important things in the context of cloud-based applications. Not only Informatica, but all other cloud-based applications. So that's a one thing. So, but we can also use this firewall and proxy even for what? Data protection. So we can use this firewall and proxy for both data and what agent production. That's it about this architecture. Now, if you have any questions, so you guys can shoot out on this particular architecture. Any questions? I'll talk about once you understand this, right? I'll talk about next level of understanding the architecture where you will have a client layer, app server, server data meta layer. I'll talk about it. But whatever is given by Informatica, I'm just trying to talk about it. So once we understand or once we get the clarity on this, right, then we will talk about next level of understanding architecture. Well, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Today, we'll start getting into some practical stuff. Any questions, Venkat, Ajit, Shravani?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, no. Okay, fine. So now let us log on to it. Yeah, let's see that. Yeah. Now, see, agent is up and running, right? So we can perform data integration operations. Okay. So let us try to build a mapping. So today we will talk about simple connector, which is going to be one flat file connection and second database connection. Let us talk about it. So after that, we will get into the usage of what those connections in order to perform like XML parsing or other type of parsing. Right? First, let's understand the connectivity part. Yeah. If I get time, I'll also talk about Salesforce connection. Let us see. Okay, the first thing, I think flat file part, I talked about it, but let me try to repeat. See, let us say when you want to connect to any media in any tool, we have to have the connection. Yes or no? So, for example, to start with a flat file, one, so we need to specify the connection name, like let's say source file connection. Then we can specify the connection description, like what this particular connection does, and select what platform. Any type you can select. We'll focus on two things. One more here today. Platform, you've already seen it. I'm trying to recap it. So remember, without agent, there is no way of building connectivity. So that is why First, we check what agent. But if you want to check even from services list, yeah, so we can also see that. Yes. Can you see here Informatica Cloud Secure agent, which is up and running? Yes or no? So once you register and bring it up, then we could able to see agent will be ready to use always. Agent means what? It's a long running process which will be bootstrap, which will be started when the system is bootstrapped and it goes down when the system goes down. That is the default action of this agent. But if you want to make it manual, where whenever you want, it is on demand, start and stop. In a sense, whenever you want, we can start it. Whenever it's not needed, we can just bring it down. Yeah. So now let us specify the path, which is what SQL and source, where we could able to pull the data. Fine. So click on test. Yes. So we could able to see what connection is successful. Yeah. And then say okay. Now once you build it right, we could able to pull the data. Yeah. I think we talked about the formatting options, right? Yesterday. I think we've seen it. So let us look at it again. Yeah, I'm just trying to show it. This is a flat file type. We are using delimited. If you use fixed width, so then we need to specify the width for each field. Like first two characters reserved for one thing, next four characters are reserved for something else. So we can specify the width. Based on that, we can pull the data belonging to each field. Yeah, and delimiter we can use comma tab or whatever. And row delimiter is what like a new line, which is a default. Yeah, and test qualifier where each field value will be enclosed within what double quote. That's a default. If you want to change it, we can change it. But as I said, the best practice for perspective is always go with better to go with what using quotes, either single, double, doesn't matter, but better to use what quotes. Escape to skip some characters, special characters, and these properties basically one we use it for header. First line indicates a header, and from second line we consider that as what data line. Yeah, I think we have seen that. This part I'll come to that later when we talk about performance tuning techniques, where how one can make one we can make use of this particular partitioning type in order to perform what I call dividing the input data into multiple subdivisions or subsets and see how each subset of data can be processed to avail the degree of parallelism supported by Informatica. No, we'll see that later. Next, same process. So we need to get it repeat with target also. I didn't talk about target part yesterday. We have just used it rather than creating our own connection. So let us create that. So which is target file connection one. Yeah. So because we already have one, right? So target file connection and specify what flat file again. Yeah. And select the agent. So here you can specify what you call the target. Yeah. So date format is this. This is a code page. It's a default actually. You can change depending upon type of language that we deal with. And format is also based on the country data that we deal with. You can change. Yeah. Yes. And then say okay. That's it. After this, we can specify the target, and this particular target could be a newly generated target, or we can also have existing target, which you can see in the list. You know, if you don't want existing ones, we can also create new at runtime. Example, let's say we are just using what? Pass through target. You know, pass through tgt dot txt. So that's it. Like how one can be specified the target file name. Yes, that's it. Now field mapping target is not required because it's a newly added target. But if existing target means we need to map it here. That's the difference between selection of existing target and new target. And target fields also not applicable. All the fields data will be transferred to a target. In which case, generate new at runtime. In that case, all the fields data. If you want specific fields, then we need to use existing target and map the ones which are required to a target. That's all. Yeah. So I'll show that also. For now, let's say we are starting with a new one. Now we can specify here mapping pass through, because without any intermediate manipulation from source to target, we are trying to transfer it. Yes or no? So that's it. Now can you see default, which is a default project? If you want to specify some other location, like for example CDQ and some other location, we can specify it. Yeah. I'll also show how to create our own project folder so that we can also save it there. For example, let's say we need to save it under DQ. We can do that. Yeah. Yeah. I'll talk about some DQ stuff later. So let us just remember that location, but I'm just showing it. So that's it. Now we saved it. So so we have done everything right. So that is why this particular mapping is a valid mapping. Fine. So that's it. Yeah. Like how one can start building a pass-through mapping over here. Fine. Yes. Any questions in this with respect to configuration of simple mapping from the scratch?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Now let us try to run it. Okay. We can just monitor by clicking on my jobs. Yeah. Yeah. So now let us try to refresh. See, we can see here all the 8 rows got transferred. All the 8 rows means we can see the data from SEQ file. So this one, right? So we can see here header and data is what? Let's say sum, flat file data. Now let us look at whether we got all the rows or not. See here, so we can see all the rows got transferred. Yeah. So except that empty data where there is a problem with the data, right? 8 rows. Yeah. So except this, all the rows got transferred. But if you want even that also, so we need to include nulls. I'll come to that. Yeah. So that's it. Simple straight through mapping. Yeah. So now, yeah, if you want to look at the metrics, we can see it here like a task name, instance ID, instance type, which is task type. Then when it got started, when it is ended, time taken to complete this particular task. So then where we executed it, then status of it. See why we have two things here, runtime environment, secure agent, because in one runtime environment, which is secure agent group, is a collection of multiple agents. For example, one agent, let's say pointing to task one, some other agent pointing to task two. That's it. So here you can see source and target. Yeah. So that's it. Like how one can start execution of this particular task. Yeah. So now, let-
One quick question, like, do we
yeah,
have any custom properties, when
like
we are reading data from Power Center, right? So there are some special characters like hash or something coming at the beginning of the file.
header. Okay.
So
Header,
yeah,
right?
headers. Yeah.
Right.
So in order to remove that, like in Power Center, we add some custom properties, right? So
Yeah. In
do
Power
we have
Center,
that options here?
auto. In there are two ways to take care of in Power Center. One, remove output header. So we got one global property, right? We can add it as part of custom properties in Power Center integration service, right? Similarly, here also we could achieve the same thing. So here what we need to do? So we need to add it as part of agent properties. So agent
Oh,
is equivalent to what? Integration service in Power Center. Venkat?
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So now let us try to, or we can also write a shell script to take care of it. That's another way. Once you write it, right, there's a header command option, all right, where you can specify the command like header dot sh or csh. So first time it will execute, then followed by our mapping class will get executed. So in that way also you can take care. There are two ways to take care. Venkat. Yeah, fine.
Okay.
So now, so simple pass-through mapping with a flat file we have taken care of. Next, we will talk about what you call another type of what you call connection, which is database connection. First thing, if you want to connect to any database, what we need to have, we need to make sure that database got installed and the server is up and running. Example, if you take MySQL, so MySQL server should be up and running. That's one thing. And second, if you have Oracle, TNS listener and DB instance should be up and running. Similarly, DB2 or any other database. That's a starting point. Now, that's a prerequisite, right? So once it is up and running, then so we have to have a connector for appropriate database to get connected to the relevant database. For that, so we need to go to what you call wherever agent got installed, right? Download appropriate connector. So then get it placed as part of what you call appropriate location. For example, let's take app integration. This is data integration server where ext and drivers. So this is a location where we need to place appropriate connectors. In this, let's say because we are using MySQL database, So I've just downloaded MySQL connector and place it here. This is the second step. Clear, right? One, we need to install the database server, and second, we can start what we call placing the connector in the relevant location, like what we can see over here. Yes or no? Yeah. So once we're done with that, next step is what? So we need to start specifying where we have this particular connector. To do that, there is a pre-built what we call jar driver. There's a pre-built global property. Against that, so we need to specify what we call the connector name. Let us see where we need to do that. Again, here also in agent properties, we should do that. Yeah. Okay. For that, we need to go to runtime environments. Within that, we can see our agent, right? So this is a runtime environment agent group. Here you can see agent. Now click on properties of agent. Yeah. Can you see here MySQL JDBC driver name? Now here we need to specify the connector. But if the connector is different from what, let us say here we have got something else, 8018 or 19. In that case, we need to specify appropriate value over here. You can just click on edit and change this. Instead of 1, 2, let's say 1, 5, whatever. So this is what we need to do over here. Yeah. So that's it. But in this case, we don't need to change. We can just say no, no change. Yeah. So that's it. So this is the third step. First, server. Second, connector. Third, specifying the connector as part of agent properties. Clear, right? Next we can start configuring the connection stuff. That connection stuff, we can do it at admin level, or we can also do it at integration level. Let me show it here itself. Like global properties, right? Like in case of Power Center, we got admin console, right? Where we can define global connections. Same concept holds good here also. So in the sense, here also we can define the connections. Can you see connections here? See, these are pre-built connections. So we can also create our own connection. Let's say MySQL with let's say basic connection. And specify the connection type, which is what? MySQL. So then select runtime environment. Then we can also try to log on to this MySQL from command line. So let's say client is there, right? You can just open this. Yeah. And specify the password here. That's it. Yeah. So we could able to log in. Same thing, we can do it here. So root is the username and password default is the root, and host name. In localhost, we have just installed it, right? And default port number, where this MySQL server would be listening to is what? 3306 and database name. So we can create it. So let's get in here. So create database. I use this. Oh, already there. Okay. I'll just put let's say IDMC. Then we can go to that use IDMC. Then we can create one table, create table. That's a TAN, temporary table. Then insert some rows, insert into T, A followed by values like 1, 2, 3. Then we can also insert whatever, 4, 5, 6, whatever you want, or 3, 4, 5, and then get it submitted. So here what we are trying to do, one, we have created what database, and then we got into the database. Then we inserted first row and second row. Then we committed it. You can just confirm this. Select start from T. So that's it. This is from database side. Now let us say we need to understand like how to pull the data from this particular database and from specified table. To do that, first let us talk about specifying the database name. In this case, we can specify IDMC, right? After that, test connection. Yes. Can you see here? Test for this connection was successful. These are the base. I gave basic connection, right? But if you want to get into this particular other attributes, like for example, in case if you have SSL authentication, enable it and use appropriate SSL or TLS protocols like TLS v1, 1.1 or whatever. Plus, in case if you have any JDBC certifications, key certificates, keys, we can also specify them. So same thing, we can get repeated for ODBC. This is for more protection of this particular database. Yeah. So that's it. So this way we could able to establish connectivity. Next, we need to build a mapping through which we should understand like how to pull the data based on the table that was specified over here, which is table T. Yes or no? Right? To do that, we need to get into what? Again, data integration. I hope it is clear, right? In case if I'm going fast or slow, right? Please let me know so that I can change the pace of presentation. Venkat, Savanya, and Ajit.
Oh, we're good. Thanks. I'm good.
Okay. So let's wait for a while. Now let us click on new and select the mapping. Click on create. Yeah. Yes. Here also, here what we'll do, we'll try to read the data from database table and get it transferred to a flat file. Yeah. We'll see later, flat file to table, whatever. Let's see, we're starting with whether we could able to pull the data from the database or not. Yeah. Let us say you don't want to make use of the connection that we define as part of what admin, right? See, whatever is defined, we can see here, basic connection. We can also click on new connection and get it configured. But that I've already shown it the flat file, right? So one I've shown it here, one I've just shown it from administrator, which covers both. Yeah. Next, you can just click on select and specify appropriate table name. Yeah. See, there's only one table because now only we just created a new database, which is IDMC, and we have just created table under that T. Only that table only can be seen it here. So I've just shown it everything from the scratch so that there won't be any confusion. Yes or no? Because database side, if someone has already created, just use it. No, it's a halfway understanding things. Yes or no? That is why everything I'm going to show from the scratch so that anybody could able to understand. So in between, I'll not do it. Yeah. So and then say okay. Yes. Now I can just click on preview data. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, and then set done. Yeah. Now select fields. Say we can specify, can look at column, right? Because we added only column A. So see column here, right? When you create table. Same thing we can say it here. That's it. Yeah. And partitions part, I think I already talked about it. I think Simon was trying to ask question on this source qualifier step. I have said it. So this way we can just define it. We'll see that anyway. We are starting with a big first example, right? And then we can specify the target. So let's say target file connection 1, our newly added connection, right? Yes. Now specify the target file name, which is MySQL target. Yeah. MySQL to file we are doing, right? .txt. Yeah. Now let us specify the mapping MySQL to what file. Yeah. With a pass through, we are not manipulating, right? Yeah. Location now, last time we specified this location, right? We can go for it, or we can also change it to default. Whatever you want it, right? You can just get it selected. Yeah. So that's it about configuring mapping. This line with arrow indicates what through which we can transfer data. So this is through operation inside to monitor it. If you don't want it, we can also off. So save it. See, it has disappeared now. Yeah. So now, if you want it, you can also cover on. Now, let us try to run this. Yeah. So meantime, you can ask questions if you have any questions. Here it won't get refreshed automatically, but server side it would have been completed. But if you want to see the status of the front end, you just have to refresh and see it. Yeah. So yes, see, 2 rows got transferred because we have inserted 2 rows in the database table. Yeah. Now, so let us look at the result in the target file. See, my SQL file. So we got 2 rows, right? So that's it. Like how to understand end-to-end flow of dealing with the database stuff. Yeah. So I hope it is clear. It's very simple, but we need to understand it clearly, right? From cloud perspective. Yeah. Anyway, you'll have recording. You can always play that recording whenever you want it to get it practiced. Fine. So that's it. This XML we'll see later. So actually, I thought of covering XML, but before that, thought let us see simple connections. After that, we'll get into this XML or some other type. Yeah. So, so I think if you go with some other topic, it will take time. So we'll stop here. We'll continue from it tomorrow. But before we close, if you have any kind of question, you can just shoot out. Venkat, Sravant, and Ajit.
No, nothing from my side. It was good today. Yeah,
Okay, fine. Any questions, Ajit or Venkat?
No, not no.
Okay. Venkat?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Fine. Okay then. So thank you very much. So we'll meet tomorrow, the same time. Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.